Do the words race riot belong on a historic marker in Memphis? This is taken from the NPR. A somber procession began on Sunday in the courtyard of the former Lorraine Motel in Memphis, Tennessee, where Martin Luther King Jr. was killed in 1968. Everyone in Memphis knows about that piece of history, but until recently, folks were unaware of a massacre that happened in the same part of town 100 years earlier. On May 1, 1866, Memphis was home to a massacre that left dozens of black folks dead and countless others injured. This week in Memphis, the city is remembering that grim chapter in its history, a 150-year-old atrocity that shocked the nation was nearly forgotten. All right, so we're going to talk about this article. We will focus on vocabulary. We'll focus on the history, perhaps, of African Americans. We'll talk a little bit about what does it mean to have a race riot and other things of interest to you. Now that we've read this article, what questions do you have?
Okay.
What questions can I answer for you about this article?
Uh, I can't understand all what's the right here. I don't have any. It is if I read this article, I
Mm-hmm.
don't have any doubts about it.
Okay.
Uh,
Then can,
if you read, no, don't have, no, don't. I don't have any problem to understand what they reading here.
okay.
My problem sometimes is to understand when the people started to talk. In your case, you talk slowly.
Mm-hmm.
I can't stand because you, you talk slowly, not slowly, but not so fast that the people normally use it to do.
Exactly. I have a teaching voice right now, and
Yes,
that's what I think you will need to learn first, how to decipher the teaching voice, and then once you clearly understand the teaching voice, you'll be able to associate better with a speaking voice. Now, if you understand this article, say 85%, do you understand the vocabulary that is used? I think you understand the context, but do you understand the vocabulary that is being used in this article?
yes. The only word that I didn't see before it was that green chapter. Chapter I know what mean, but green it's the first time that I saw this word
And which
green.
and which word is it that you're talking about? That Lorraine?
No, the series remembering that green chapter. It's almost at the end of the article. Near 150
Oh, I see.
years old.
Okay, this week in Memphis, the city is remembering that grim chapter in its history.
Ram, Ram.
Grim. Grim means uh, deceptive, something evil, something that is despicable, not very good. All right,
Okay.
now let's take a look at this article and we will talk about other things that are relative to our daily lives. When we talk about a somber procession, what exactly are we describing? What does a somber procession actually look like? What is a somber procession?
I didn't understand your question.
And
Please, can you repeat it, please?
it's the second word in the article, a somber procession. What is a somber procession? What is that? What does that word mean? What does somber mean?
Procession is like is yeah, a somber. I don't know this word. This the second word that I never see, but procession. I for me. It's something like for Churchill when the people go to the street to follow the something, not.
That is correct. But when we look at the word somber, what does somber mean?
No, I don't know what somber means.
Okay, somber means
It,
sad.
it,
Somber means sad, but procession is like a group of people going in a particular direction. A somber procession began on Sunday in the courtyard of the Lorraine Motel in Memphis, Tennessee. And Martin Luther King Jr. was killed there in 1968. All right. So what we're talking about is things that are sad that has taken place. Now we'll take this article and we'll talk about things that are happening in our daily lives. For example, have you ever attended a funeral where someone like a relative may have died?
no, I didn't understand the question.
All right. Have you ever had someone in your family to die?
Yes,
All
I
right.
had my parents was died.
Okay. My parents died. You would say my
Right.
parents died, not my parents was died, but my parents died.
My spirit died.
My parents died.
My parents died.
Good. Now, when your parents died, did you attend a funeral? Did they have a funeral? Did you bury them? Did you cremate them? How did you, what did they do with your parents' body?
No, I couldn't stand.
Okay, when my father died, we buried him at the church cemetery. When my,
Yes, in my case, it's the same way.
okay, so that was a very somber occasion. Somber meaning very sad.
Okay.
So that was a very somber occasion when my father died. And we did have a procession. We all marched into the church, and people walked around to see the body before he was entered into the ground. Okay?
Uh, I understood.
All right, so we talk about a somber procession. Now, just for conversational purposes, we want to use the vocabulary that is in this article. So there are pieces of history that indicate something of significance in our lives. It could be a birth certificate. That could be a piece of history. Do you have children?
Yes, I have children.
Okay, what do you have? A girl, boy, two boys, two girls? What do you have as children?
I have it's not so children. My daughter is 24 years old,
Hmm.
and my boy is 21 years old. It's not children.
Okay. Well,
Exactly,
they will all
exactly not children, but it's children for me.
they will always be your children, but they're not small.
Yeah.
They're not small. I have one child, and he's 31, but he will always be my child. All right. The point that I want to make here is as we use the vocabulary and concepts in this article, when my son was born, he was issued a birth certificate, which is a part of his history. What
Mhm.
what can you give me as examples of a part of history for members of your family?
Okay. For example, when my daughter born,
When my
it's
daughter
one
was born, what?
was born. When
Mm-hmm.
my daughter was born, it was very significant for us because it's our first experience
Mm-hmm.
like a father and mother,
Mm-hmm.
and it's for us what's like something like a gift of God
Mm-hmm. It was
for
something
us,
like a gift from God.
a gift from God.
Mm-hmm. Oh, that's very nicely stated. Now, I want to point out again, as we have and continue with classes, that as you speak, I will be correcting you as best as I can. And I'm only using this article to give us vocabulary or reference to use since we didn't have anything else. So in this last sentence, we see that we have the same part of town. We see the phrase the same part of town in the last sentence of the first paragraph.
Yes.
Same part of town. I just want to be able to use those words. Same part of town. My parents married when my mother was very young, but they were not from the same part of town. My mother lived about 100 miles away from my dad. My dad was in the military, and he was in town, in her town one day, and that's when he saw her in that part of town.
Okay. In my case, for my parents, both are from the same part of town.
Good.
And for example, it was very interesting because in this case, in this time, my father and his brother went to the church and know my mother and his sister,
Okay.
her sister, and the both brothers married the both sisters.
Wonderful. So you want me to know that your father married a sister and your father's brother married the other sister.
Yes, it's
How
very interesting.
how interesting. And it must be the era of that time because my my mother's sister has two sisters. My mother, well, actually my mother has three sisters. Two sisters married two brothers, but they were twins. So that, and they were in the military as well.
Yeah, it's very interesting because in this case, imagine it coincidence that these guys, the brothers, the
Yes,
two brothers,
yes.
went the same day for the same section, at the same in the same moment, and found
Mm-hmm.
the two sisters,
Yes.
and both started to know
Mm-hmm.
and married.
They started to
And
get to date,
it
and they.
was it was a I think they married in 1930, 33, 34.
Mm-hmm. Okay. Interesting.
A long time ago.
Right. Well, it was a long time ago, and my mother was born in 1923. So she is 10 years older, I guess. And well, my mom is 84 now. So whatever year that might would put her. All right. But
Yes, very interesting because my father was born in 1977, 1917, and my mother in 1919.
okay. All right. Well, now this is a type of conversation that we could have, and we'll continue to talk more. But I wanted to just point out that as we talk, we could have something of a backdrop to talk about. So we're not necessarily talking about the race riots, but we've chosen a few phrases from this brief article to build our conversation. We've gone from this article, we've talked about uh, a historical piece of information for our children, and we've talked about relationships that have developed into marriages.